Ladies and gentlemen, men, we often don't realize the power of a good woman until we lose her. And once you hurt her, even if you think she'll stay, there are things that start haunting you, things you can't ignore. Today, I want to talk about 6 things a man fears after hurting a good woman. Pay attention because this is real talk. When a man hurts a good woman, one of the first things he begins to fear is losing her respect. Respect is not something that comes easily. It is built over time through actions, consistency, and integrity. A good woman doesn't just hand it out. She gives it to the man who proves himself worthy, the man who shows up not just when it's convenient, but when it matters most. And when that trust is broken, when she is hurt by words, by betrayal, by neglect, he suddenly realizes that respect, once lost, is not something you can demand back. It is earned, and it is fragile. Men often underestimate the weight of respect in a relationship, thinking that love alone is enough to keep her by their side. But a good woman knows that love without respect is empty, and she won't tolerate being devalued, mistreated, or taken for granted. The fear sets in because he knows that even if she stays, the way she looks at him, the way she carries herself around him, the subtle distance that creeps into her voice and her eyes, all of it is a reminder that something precious has been broken. It's a quiet kind of fear, the kind that gnaws at a man in the middle of the night, making him replay moments, words, and choices over and over, wondering when, if ever, he can make things right. Losing her respect is like losing a part of himself because a man often defines himself through the eyes of the woman he loves. He fears that she will no longer admire him, that she will no longer trust his judgment, that she will no longer see him as the man she believed in. And that fear is because respect is not just about being noticed, it's about being valued, being honored, being seen as someone who is capable of love, loyalty, and strength. The thought of her seeing him differently, of her stepping back emotionally, of her holding back her heart because she knows he has hurt her, it terrifies him. Every action, every apology, every attempt to make amends is filtered through that awareness that respect has limits. And once it's gone, it's nearly impossible to reclaim fully. Men fear losing her respect because it's a reflection of how far they've fallen, how badly they miscalculated, and how much work it will take just to prove that they are worthy of her admiration again. It's a humbling kind of fear, one that forces a man to look inward, to confront his mistakes, and to understand that respect is priceless, fleeting, and something that can never be taken lightly. When a man hurts a good woman, one of the deepest fears that starts to consume him is the fear of losing her love. Love is not something that can be bought, demanded, or replaced. It is something that is given freely by a heart that trusts, believes, and chooses to stay. A good woman's love is rare. It is powerful and it is pure. And the moment it is betrayed, a man begins to feel the weight of what he may have thrown away. He begins to realize that love is fragile, that it can't simply be repaired with empty words or half-hearted gestures, and that once it is hurt, it carries scars that change the way she looks at him forever. The fear sets in because love is not just about affection or companionship. It is about connection, understanding, loyalty, and the unspoken bond that makes a woman feel safe enough to give her whole heart. When that bond is broken, he fears that she will retreat into herself, that she will close off the very thing that he once held so dearly, and that no amount of effort can bring it back to the way it was. Men fear losing her love because they know it is irreplaceable. It is not something that can be found again once lost. It is a treasure that demands respect, care, and attention. And when it is mistreated, it leaves a void that echoes in ways that are impossible to ignore. He fears the subtle changes in her behavior, the way she no longer reaches out the same way, the way her smiles carry hesitation, the way her words, even in kindness, carry a distance that wasn't there before. And that fear is terrifying because love is what gives a relationship meaning, what fuels hope, what makes a man feel alive and significant. Without it, he feels exposed, incomplete, and haunted by the thought that he may have permanently damaged the one thing that truly mattered. He fears that her heart, once open, may never fully trust him again, that the laughter, the support, the warmth he once relied on will fade into guarded silence, and that he will be left to face the consequences of his actions every single day. Losing a good woman's love is a fear that reaches deep into a man's soul because it is a reminder that love is sacred, it is delicate, and it can be destroyed in moments of carelessness, anger, or neglect. Once a good woman's love is hurt, the fear of losing it becomes a shadow that follows him relentlessly, shaping every thought, every choice, and every attempt to repair the damage he has caused. When a man hurts a good woman, another fear begins to take hold, the fear of being exposed for who he truly is. A good woman has a way of seeing beyond the surface, beyond the charm, beyond the words, to the real man underneath. She notices the intentions behind actions, the sincerity behind promises, and the consistency between what is said and what is done. And when she is hurt, he suddenly realizes that all the masks he has worn, all the excuses he has made, and all the pretenses he has hidden behind are now reflected back at him. That reflection is uncomfortable because it forces him to confront parts of himself he may have ignored or denied. It is a fear that creeps into quiet moments, that whispers in the middle of the night, reminding him that he cannot hide from the truth. The fear of exposure is not just about being seen as flawed. It is about being seen as someone capable of causing pain to someone precious, someone who trusted him with her heart. He fears that she knows his weaknesses, his selfishness, his mistakes, and his failures in ways that are impossible to hide, and that she sees him clearly while he may have fooled himself or the world into believing otherwise. That fear gnaws at a man because it is humbling, it is confronting, and it reminds him that integrity and honesty are not negotiable. A good woman's awareness is precise and unforgiving in a way that forces accountability. And once he hurts her, he knows that every misstep, every harsh word, every moment of neglect has been noticed, remembered, and internalized. He fears that she will no longer see him as the man she once admired, that she will no longer trust him, and that her disappointment will become a mirror of his own shortcomings. The fear of exposure grows stronger because it is tied to reputation, identity, and self-perception. A man begins to realize that hurting her has revealed parts of himself he may not have wanted to face, and that the consequences are not just emotional but deeply personal. She may not speak the words, but he can feel it in the way she observes him, in the distance that creeps between them, and in the quiet moments when her eyes reflect judgment and clarity. That fear becomes a constant presence because it is impossible to escape. Being exposed for who he truly is after hurting a good woman forces a man to reckon with the reality that actions have weight, that truth cannot be hidden forever, and that the woman he hurt sees things he can no longer deny, forcing him to face himself in ways he never imagined possible. When a man hurts a good woman, one of the fears that begins to gnaw at him is the fear of emptiness without her. A good woman brings more than companionship into a man's life. She brings warmth, understanding, support, and a sense of completeness that cannot be replicated. When she is hurt, a man starts to realize that the void her absence creates is deeper than he imagined. It's not just the silence in the room or the empty spaces at the table. It's the absence of connection, the absence of unconditional care, the absence of someone who believes in him, even when he stumbles. That emptiness is frightening because it is immediate and inescapable. No distraction, no achievement, no fleeting pleasure can fill the space that a good woman occupies in his heart. He begins to feel the weight of the things he took for granted, the small gestures, the quiet encouragement, the emotional safety she provided, and the genuine love she offered without condition. The fear becomes more intense because emptiness is not just physical, it is emotional, mental, and spiritual. It lingers in the corners of his mind, whispering reminders of what he lost and the moments he cannot reclaim. Men fear this emptiness because it confronts them with reality. They cannot replace her with anyone else, and no one else can replicate the bond, the trust, and the love that was broken. The fear seeps into every part of life, coloring memories, haunting decisions, and amplifying regrets. He fears the quiet nights when he reaches for her presence and finds only absence, the celebrations that feel hollow because she is no longer there to share in joy, and the simple moments that once carried meaning now echo with loss. That emptiness forces a man to face the consequences of his actions and the realization that love and presence are irreplaceable. He fears that even if she forgives, even if she stays, the fullness of what once was can never be restored, and he must navigate life carrying the shadow of what he hurt. The fear of emptiness without her is not about being alone in general. It is about being without the person who once made life brighter, safer, and more meaningful. He starts to understand that the depth of her absence mirrors the depth of his mistake, that every laugh, every word, every moment he shared with her now carries weight, and that the emptiness is a constant reminder that love, once broken, leaves an echo that follows him wherever he goes. When a man hurts a good woman, one of the fears that begins to haunt him most is the fear that she will find someone better. A good woman is rare, she is a treasure, and the love she gives is pure, loyal, and unwavering. Once he realizes the depth of what he has hurt, a sense of panic sets in because he knows that she has value, worth, and qualities that are impossible to replace. He begins to understand that while he may have stumbled, while he may have made mistakes, she still has the power to move on, to find someone who sees her worth, appreciates her fully, and never lets her feel unloved or disrespected again. The fear is not just about losing her presence, it is about losing her to someone who can love her the way he failed to, someone who can give her the attention, respect, and care that he took for granted. It eats at him because deep down he knows he let go of a rare opportunity, a rare connection, and the thought of her being cherished by another man ignites a gnawing anxiety. Men fear that she will find someone better because it highlights their own failures, their own shortcomings, and the consequences of their actions. He realizes that her heart is not bound to him by obligation. It is bound by love, trust, and respect. And once those are broken, she has every right to seek someone who will honor her fully. The fear grows stronger because it is tied to ego and pride, reminding him that he cannot control her choices, that he cannot force love, and that he cannot undo the pain he caused. Every smile she gives, every glance she shares, every ounce of happiness she seeks outside of him becomes a reflection of the man he has become versus the man he could have been. It is a fear that makes him think, what if she never needs me again? What if she finds someone who sees her value and never lets her go? That uncertainty is terrifying because it is real, it is immediate, and it cannot be ignored. Men fear that she will find someone better because they know that love, respect, and care are rare commodities. And once lost, the chances of reclaiming them diminish every day. That fear lingers in quiet moments, in memories of what was, and in the realization that the woman he hurt is not just anyone. She is someone extraordinary, someone irreplaceable, and the thought of her happiness in another's arms becomes a haunting reminder of everything he has jeopardized.